Hello, everybody. This is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Chapter 5. Mother, I'm so happy, whispered the girl, burying her face in the lap of the faded, tired-looking woman who, with back turned to the shrill, intrusive light, was sitting in one armchair that their dingy sitting-room contained. I'm so happy, she repeated, and you must be happy, too. Mrs. Vane winced and put her thin, bismuth-whitened hands on her daughter's head. Happy, she echoed. I'm only happy, Sybil, when I see you act. You must not think of anything but your acting. Mr. Isaac's been very good to us, and we owe him money. The girl looked up and pouted. Money, mother, she cried. What does money matter? Love is more than money. Mr. Isaacs has advanced us £50 to pay off your debt, and to get you a proper outfit for James. You must not forget that, Sybil. £50 is a large sum. Mr. Isaac's been most considerate. He's not a gentleman, mother, and I hate the way he talks to me, said the girl, rising to her feet and going over to the window. I don't know how we could manage without him, answered the elder woman, querulously. Sybil Vane tossed her head and laughed. We don't want him any more, mother. Prince Charming rules life for us now. And then she paused. A rose shook in her blood and shadowed her cheeks. Quick breath parted the petals of her lips. They trembled. Some southern wind of passion swept over her and stirred the dainty folds of her dress. I love him, she said simply. Foolish child, was the parrot phrase flung in answer. The waving of crooked, false-jeweled fingers gave grotesqueness to the words. The girl laughed. The joy of a caged bird was in her voice. Her eyes caught the melody and echoed in radiance, then closed for a moment as though to hide their secret. When they opened, the mist of a dream had passed across them. Thin-lipped wisdom spoke at her from the worn chair, hinted at prudence, quoted from the book of cowardice, whose author apes the name of common sense. She didn't listen. She was free in her prison of passion. Her Prince Charming, was with her. She called on memory to remake him. She had sent her soul to search for him and had brought him back. His kiss burned again upon her mouth. Her eyelids were warm with his breath. Then wisdom altered its method and spoke of espial and discovery. This young man might be rich. If so, marriage should be thought of. Against the shell of her ear broke the waves of worldly cunning. The arrows of craft shot by her. She saw the thin lips moving and smiled. Suddenly she felt the need to speak. The wordy silence troubled her. Mother, she cried, why does he love me so much? I know why I love him. I love him because he is like what love himself should be. But what does he see in me? I'm not worthy of him. And yet, why I cannot tell, though I feel so much beneath him, I don't feel humble. I feel proud, terribly proud. Mother, did you love my father as I love Prince Charming? The elder woman grew pale beneath the coarse powder that daubed her cheeks, and her dry lips twitched with a spasm of pain. Sybil rushed to her, flung her arms around her neck, and kissed her. Forgive me, mother. I know it pains you to talk about her father, but it only pains you because you loved him so much. Don't look so sad. I am as happy today as you were 20 years ago. Let me be happy forever. My child, you're far too young to think of falling in love. Besides, what do you know of this young man? You don't even know his name. The whole thing's most inconvenient, and really, when James is going away to Australia and I have so much to think of, I must say that you should have shown more consideration. However, as I said before, if he is rich— Oh, mother, let us be happy. Mrs. Vane glanced at her, and with one of those false theatrical gestures that so often become a mode of second nature to a stage player, clasped her in her arms. At this moment the door opened, and a young lad with rough brown hair came into the room. He was thick-set of figure, and his hands and feet were large and somewhat clumsy in movement. He was not so finely bred as his sister. One could hardly have guessed the close relationship that existed between them. Mrs. Vane fixed her eyes on him and intensified her smile. She mentally elevated her son to the dignity of an audience. She felt sure that the tableau was interesting. You might keep some of your kisses for me, Sybil, I think, said the lad with a good-natured grumble. But you don't like being kissed, Jim, she cried. You're a dreadful old bear. And she ran across the room and hugged him. James Vane looked into his sister's face with tenderness. I want you to come out with me for a walk, Sybil. I don't suppose I shall ever see this horrid London again. I'm sure I don't want to. My son, don't say such dreadful things, murmured Mrs. Vane, taking up the tawdry theatrical dress with a sigh, and beginning to patch it. She felt a little disappointed that he had not joined the group. It would have increased the theatrical picturesqueness of the situation. Why not, Mother? I mean it. You pain me, son. I trust you'll return from Australia in a position of affluence. I believe there's no society of any kind in the colonies, nothing that I would call society. So when you've made your fortune, you must come back and assert yourself in London. Society, muttered the lad. I don't want to know anything about that. I should like to make money and take you and Sybil off the stage. I hate it. Oh, Jim, said Sybil, laughing, how unkind of you. But are you really going for a walk with me? That would be nice. I was afraid you were going to say goodbye to some of your friends, to Tom Hardy, who you gave the hideous pipe, or Ned Langton, who makes fun of you for smoking it. It's very sweet of you to let me have your last afternoon. Where shall we go? Let's go to the park. I'm too shabby, he answered, frowning. Only swell people go to the park. Nonsense, Jim, she whispered, stroking the sleeve of his coat. He hesitated for a moment. Very well, he said at last, but don't be too long dressing. She danced out of the door. He could hear her singing as she ran upstairs. Her little feet pattered overhead. He walked up and down the room 2 or 3 times, then he turned to the still figure in the chair. Mother, are your things ready? He asked. Quite ready, James, she answered, keeping her eyes on her work. For some months past she had felt ill at ease when she was alone with this rough, stern son of hers. Her shallow, secret nature was troubled when their eyes met. She used to wonder if he suspected anything. The silence, for he made no other observation, became intolerable to her. She began to complain. Women defend themselves by attacking, just as they attack by sudden and strange surrenders. I hope you will be contented, James, with your seafaring life, she said. You must remember that this is your own choice. You might have entered a solicitor's office. Solicitors are a very respectable class, and the country often dine with the best families. I hate offices, and I hate clerks, he replied. But you're quite right. I've chosen my own life. All I say is watch over Sybil. Don't let her come to any harm. Mother, you must watch over her. James, you really talk very strangely. Of course I watch over Sybil. I hear a gentleman comes every night to the theatre and goes behind to talk to her. Is that right? What about that? You're speaking about things you don't understand, James. In the profession we're accustomed to receive a great deal of gratifying attention. I myself used to receive many bouquets at one time. That was when acting was really understood. As for Sybil, I don't know at present whether her attachment is serious or not, but there's no doubt that the young man in question is a perfect gentleman. He's always most polite to me. Besides, he has the appearance of being rich, and the flowers he sends are lovely. You don't know his name, though, said the lad harshly. No, answered his mother, with a placid expression in her face. He has not yet revealed his real name. I think it's quite romantic of him. He's probably a member of the aristocracy. James Vane bit his lip. Watch over Sybil, mother. Watch over her. My son, you distress me very much. Sybil's always under my special care. Of course, if this gentleman is wealthy, there's no reason why she shouldn't contract an alliance with him. I trust he's one of the aristocracy. He has all the appearance of it, I must say. It might be a most brilliant marriage for Sybil. They could make a charming couple. His good looks are really quite remarkable. Everybody notices them. The lad muttered something to himself and drummed on the window pane with his coarse fingers. He just turned round to say something when the door opened and Sybil ran in. How serious you both are, she cried. What's the matter? Nothing, he answered. I suppose one must be serious sometimes. Goodbye, mother. I'll have dinner at 5 o'clock. Everything is packed except my shirt, so you need not trouble. Goodbye, my son, she answered with a bow of strange stateliness. She was extremely annoyed at the tone he had adopted with her, and there was something in his look that made her feel afraid. Kiss me, mother, said the girl. Her flower-like lips touched the withered cheek and warmed its frost. My child, cried Mrs. Vane, looking up to the ceiling in search of an imaginary gallery. Come, Sybil, said her brother impatiently. He hated his mother's affectations. They went out into the flickering, wind-blown sunlight and strolled down the dreary Euston Road. The passers-by glanced in wonder at the sullen, heavy youth who, in coarse, ill-fitting clothes, was in the company of such a graceful, refined-looking girl. He was like a common gardener walking with a rose. Jim frowned from time to time when he caught the inquisitive glance of some stranger. He had the dislike of being stared at which comes with the geniuses late in life and never leaves the commonplace. Sybil, however, was quite unconscious of the effect she was producing. Her love was trembling in laughter on her lips. She was thinking of Prince Charming, and that she might think of him all the more. She didn't talk of him, but prattled on about the ship in which Jim was going to sail, about the gold he was certain to find, and whether wonderful heiress whose life he was going to save from the wicked red-shirted bushrangers. For he was not to remain a sailor or a supercargo or whatever he was going to be. Oh no, a sailor's existence was dreadful. Fancy being cooped up in a horrid ship with the hoarse, hump-backed waves trying to get in, and a black wind blowing the masts down and tearing the sails into long, screaming ribbons. He was to leave the vessel at Melbourne, bid a polite good-bye to the captain, and go off at once to the goldfields. Before a week was over, he'd come across a large nugget of pure gold, the largest nugget that had ever been discovered, and bring it down to the coast in a wagon guarded by 6 mounted policemen. The bushrangers were to attack them 3 times, and be defeated with immense slaughter. Or, no, he wasn't going to the goldfields at all. They were horrid places where men get intoxicated and shot each other in bar-rooms and used bad language. He was to be a nice sheep farmer. And one evening, as he was riding home, he was to see a beautiful heiress being carried off by a robber on a black horse and give chase and rescue her. Of course, she'd fall in love with him, and he with her, and they would get married and come home and live in an immense house in London. Yes, there were delightful things in store for him, but he must be very good and not lose his temper or spend his money foolishly. She was only a year older than he was, but she knew so much more of life. He must be sure also to write to her every mail, and to say his prayers each night before he went to sleep. God was very good and would watch over him. She would pray for him too, and in a few years he would come back quite rich and happy. The lad listened sulkily to her, and made no answer. He was heartsick at leaving home, yet it was not this alone that made him gloomy and morose. Inexperienced though he was, he had still a strong sense of the danger of Sybil's position. This young dandy who was making love to her could mean her no good. He was a gentleman, and he hated him for that. Hated him through the curious race instinct for which he could not account, and which for that reason was all the more dominant within him. He was conscious also of the shallowness and vanity of his mother's nature, and in that saw an infinite peril for Sybil and Sybil's happiness. Children begin by loving their parents, and as they grow older they judge them. Sometimes they forgive them. His mother, he had something on his mind to ask of her, something that had brooded on for many months of silence. A chance phrase that he had heard at the theater, a whispered sneer that reached his ears one night as he waited at the stage door, had set loose a train of horrid thoughts. He remembered it as if it had been the lash of a hunting crop across his face. His brows knit together into a wedge-like furrow, and with a twitch of pain he bit his upper lip. "You're not listening to a word I'm saying, Jim," cried Sybil. "I'm making the most delightful plans for your future. Do say something. What do you want me to say?" "Oh, that you will be a good boy and not forget us," she answered, smiling at him. He shrugged his shoulders. "You're more likely to forget me than I am to forget you, Sybil." She flushed. "What do you mean, Jim?" she asked. "You have a new friend, I hear. Who is he? Why have you not told me of him? He means you no good." "Stop, Jim," she exclaimed. "You must not say anything against him. I love him." "Why? You don't even know his name," answered the lad. "Who is he? I have a right to know." "He's called Prince Charming. Don't you like the name?" "Oh, you silly boy, you should never forget it. If only you saw him, you'd think him the most wonderful person in the world. Some day you'll meet him, when you come back from Australia. You'll like him so much. Everybody likes him, and I love him. I wish you could come to the theater tonight. He's going to be there, and I am to play Juliet. Oh, how I shall play it. Fancy, Jim, to be in love and play Juliet, to have him sitting there to play for his delight. I'm afraid I may frighten the company, frighten or enthrall them. To be in love is to surpass oneself. Poor dreadful Mr. Isaacs will be shouting genius to his loafers at the bar. He's preached me as a dogma. Tonight he will announce me as a revelation. I feel it. And as all this is only Prince Charming, my wonderful lover, my god of graces, but I'm poor beside him. Poor? What does that matter? When poverty creeps in at the door, love flies in through the window. Our proverbs want rewriting. They were made in winter, and it's summer now. Springtime for me, I think, a very dance of blossoms in the blue skies. He's a gentleman, said the lad sullenly. A prince, she cried musically. What more do you want? He wants to enslave you. Oh, I shudder at the thought of being free. I want you to be aware of him. To see him is to worship him. To know him is to trust him. Sybil, you're mad about him. She laughed and took his arm. You dear old Jim, you talk as if you were 100. Some day you'll be in love yourself. Then you'll know what it is. Don't look so sulky. Surely you should be glad to think that, though you're going away, you leave me happier than I've ever been before. Life's been hard for us both. Terribly hard and difficult, but it will be different now. You're going to a new world, and I have found one. Here are 2 chairs. Let us sit down and see the smart people go by. They took their seat amidst the crowd of watchers. The tulip beds across the road flamed like throbbing rings of fire. A white dust, tremulous clouds of orris root, it seemed, hung in the panting air. The brightly colored parasols danced and dipped like monstrous butterflies. She made her brother talk of himself, his hopes, his prospects. He spoke slowly and with effort. They passed words to each other as players of the game pass counters. Sybil felt oppressed. She couldn't communicate her joy. A faint smile curving the sullen mouth was all the echo she could win, and sometimes she became silent. Suddenly she caught a glimpse of golden hair and laughing lips, and in an open carriage with 2 ladies, Dorian Gray drove past. She started to her feet. There he is, she cried. Who? Said Jim Vane. Prince Charming, she answered, looking after the Victoria. He jumped up and seized her roughly by the arm. Show him to me. Which is he? Point him out. I must see him, he exclaimed, but at that moment the Duke of Berwick's four in hand came between, and when it left the space the carriage swept out of the park. He's gone, murmured Sybil sadly. I wish you had seen him. I wish I had, for as sure as there is a God in heaven, if he ever does anything wrong, I shall kill him. She looked at him in horror. He repeated his words. They cut the air like a dagger. The people round began to gape. A lady standing close to her tittered. Come away, Jim, come away, she whispered. He followed her doggedly, and she passed through the crowd. He felt glad at what he had said. When they reached the Achilles statue, she turned round. There was pity in her eyes that became laughter on her lips. She shook her head at him. You're foolish, Jim, utterly foolish. A bad-tempered boy, that's all. How can you say such horrible things? You don't know what you're talking about. You're simply jealous and unkind. I wish you would fall in love. Love makes people good. What you said was wicked. I'm 16, he answered, and I know what I'm about. Mother's no help to you. She doesn't understand how to look after you. I wish now that I was not going to Australia after all. I have a mind to chuck the whole thing up. I would if my articles hadn't been signed. Oh, don't be so serious, Jim. You're like one of those heroes in the silly melodramas Mother used to be so fond of acting in. I'm not going to quarrel with you. I've seen him, and oh, to see him is perfect happiness. We won't quarrel. I know you would never harm anyone I love, would you? Not as long as you love him, I suppose, was a sullen answer. I shall love him forever, she cried, and he, oh, forever too. We'd better. She shrank from him. Then she laughed and put her hand on his arm. He was merely a boy. At the Marble Arch they hailed an omnibus, which left them close to their shabby home in Euston Road. It was after 5 o'clock, and Sybil had to lie down for a couple hours before acting. Jim insisted that she would do so. He said that he would sooner part with her when their mother was not present. She would be sure to make a scene, and he detested scenes of every kind. In Sybil's own room they parted. There was jealousy in the lad's heart, and a fierce, murderous hatred of the stranger who, as it seemed to him, had come between them. Yet when her arms were flung round his neck, and her fingers strayed through his hair, he softened and kissed her eyes with real affection. There were tears in his eyes as he went downstairs. His mother was waiting for him below. She grumbled at the unpunctuality as he entered. He made no answer, but sat down to his meagre meal. The flies buzzed round the table and crawled through the stained cloth. Through the rumble of the omnibuses and the clatter of the street cabs he could hear the droning voice devouring each minute that was left to him. After some time he thrust away his plate and put his head to his hands. He felt as if he had a right to know. It should have been told him before, if it was what he suspected. Leaden with fear, his mother watched him. Words dropped mechanically from her lips. A tattered lace handkerchief twitched in her fingers. When the clock struck 6, he got up and went to the door. Then he turned back and looked at her. Their eyes met. In hers he saw a wild appeal for mercy. It enraged him. "Mother, I have something to ask you," he said. Her eyes wandered vaguely about the room. She made no answer. "Tell me the truth. I have a right to know. were you married to my father?" She heaved a deep sigh. It was a sigh of relief. The terrible moment, the moment that night and day, weeks and months she dreaded had come at last, and yet she felt no terror. Indeed, in some measure it was a disappointment to her. The vulgar directness of the question called for a direct answer. The situation had not been gradually led up to. It was crude. It reminded her of a bad rehearsal. "No," she answered, wondering at the harsh simplicity of life. "My father was a scoundrel, then," cried the lad, clenching his fists. She shook her head. "I knew he wasn't free. We loved each other very much. If he had lived, he would have made provision for us. Don't speak against him, my son. He was your father and a gentleman. Indeed, he was highly connected." An oath broke from his lips. "I don't care for myself," he exclaimed, "but don't let Sybil—" "It's a gentleman, isn't it, who's in love with her, or says he is? Highly connected, too, I suppose." For a moment, a hideous sense of humiliation came over the woman. Her head drooped. She wiped her eyes with shaking hands. "Sybil has a mother," she murmured. "I had none." The lad was touched. He went towards her, and stooping down, he kissed her. "I'm sorry if I painted you by asking about my father," he said. "I couldn't help it. I must go now. Goodbye. Don't forget that you will have only one child now to look after, and believe me that if this man wrongs my sister, I will find out who he is, track him down, and kill him like a dog. I swear it." The exaggerated folly of the threat, the passionate gesture that accompanied it, the mad, melodramatic words made life seem more vivid to her. She was familiar with the atmosphere. She breathed more freely, and for the first time for many months she admired her son. She would have liked to have continued the scene on some emotional scale, but he cut her short. Trunks had to be carried down, and mufflers looked for. The lodging-house drudge bustled in and out. There was the bargaining with the cabman. The moment was lost in vulgar details. It was with a renewed feeling of disappointment that she waved the tattered lace handkerchief from the window as her son drove away. She was conscious that a great opportunity had been wasted. She consoled herself by telling Sybil how desolate she felt her life would be, now that she had only one child to look after. She remembered the phrase. It pleased her. Of the threat she said nothing. It was vividly and dramatically expressed. She felt that they would all laugh at it some day.